Hey everybody, welcome to this screencast on Sefer Yehoshua, where today we'll explore chapters 15 through 19, where the Jews run into some trouble with division. Today we'll explore three themes in the course of our learning. We'll begin with a lesson on the right way to ask for something, followed by a look at how the Mishkan gets a new home, and finally take a look at how the stronger tribes, who had already conquered their land, help out the weaker tribes and show us how we ought to focus on the greater good. But first up, the Navi reintroduces us to the daughters of Salaf Cod, 5 daughters, who want to receive a portion in the land of Canaan. Now, we've seen these 5 daughters before. They appeared first in Sefer Bimidbar, when Moshe was still the leader of the Jews. Let's take a quick look back at their family tree. Yaakov, of course, has 12 sons. One of them is Yosef. Yosef has 2 sons, Ephraim and Menasha, which eventually composes his tribe of Yosef. Menasha has a son, Machir, and Machir has a great-grandson by the name of Salaf Cod. Now, Salaf Cod has these 5 daughters, which makes them a direct descendant of Menasha, of Yosef, and therefore entitled to receive land. So that's the good news. They're allowed to receive land in Eretz Canaan. As you may remember, some of Menasha settled to the eastern part of the Yarden, as you see in front of you. Other parts of Menasha settled to the western part of it. So technically they should be able to receive land. The bad news is for Salaf Cod, he only had daughters, 5 of them, and it wasn't so clear that women could inherit land in Eretz Canaan, which is why the Benot Salaf Cod, the daughters of Salaf Cod, went to Moshe years before to respectfully ask for this land. And you know what? Moshe told them that they could actually inherit the land from their father's portion. And this is why they came to Yehoshua and Elazar, Kohen Gadol, in these chapters. Now, these 5 daughters teach us an important lesson about the right way to ask for something. Even though they were probably entitled to this land and had already been given this land from Moshe, they still go to Yehoshua with a reasonable and respectful tone of voice. They don't demand anything. They aren't arrogant. They simply ask for their fair share. When you want something from somebody else, follow the advice of Benot Salaf Cod. Be reasonable, be respectful, and don't ask for more than your fair share. Now, it's too bad that the rest of the tribe of Menasha didn't follow the lead of Salaf Cod's daughters, because they actually show us the wrong way to ask for something. Now, Menasha had experienced some pretty serious growth over the last 40 years. The last time Moshe took a census accounting of the people, Menasha had just over 32,000 people. Now they have over 52,000 people in their tribe. That's a 63% increase. More than 20,000 new people have been born into the tribe of Menasha that weren't there before just 40 years ago. It's an unbelievable growth rate. So members of Menasha, along with Ephraim, go to Yehoshua, and they've got a big complaint. They tell Yehoshua, look, it's not fair. We're a huge tribe. We have grown more than all the other tribes combined even, and it's not fair that such a large tribe such as ours should receive such a small parcel of land. Now, unlike the daughters of Salaf Cod, the tribe of Menasha make demands that are unreasonable, they act with arrogance, and ultimately they don't get what they want. You know what Yehoshua tells them? You guys think you're so big, you think you're so tough? Go ahead and settle that area of land just beyond what you've been assigned, that forest area that's located over here in the hill area of Menasha, near the border of Yisachar, and go ahead and clear away all those trees, and then you'll have plenty of extra land for yourself. Well, the people from Menasha basically balk at this. They say, we're not going to go do that, and they're pretty much left stranded. They definitely are not going to get any additional land from the Goral. So when you look at the daughters of Salaf Cod and the rest of the people of Menasha, even though they come from the same tribe, you see a total difference in attitude, and often in life, actions shape attitudes, and the actions that the Benot Salaf Cod took were the right actions, and the actions that the rest of Menasha took were the wrong actions. Well, let's move over to the second theme in these chapters, which is the relocation of the Mishkan to Shiloh. Now remember, up until this point, the Mishkan was housed in Gilgal, as you see in the bottom of your screen over there. But in the 18th chapter, Yehoshua and the nation actually relocate the Mishkan to a new home in the city of Shiloh. And it would stay in this city of Shiloh for a remarkable 369 years until the Plishtim destroy it. We'll learn about that hopefully one day in Sefer Shmuel, how the Plishtim wage war against the Jewish people and actually destroy the Mishkan. It was a very big tragedy. Now the Mishkan here in Shiloh, which you can see kind of an aerial view of the ancient ruins of the city where the Mishkan in Shiloh was believed to have been stored. So this city of Shiloh actually kept some of the old look for the Mishkan, the way it was set up before in the desert and in Gilgal. They kept the curtains that were part of the old look, but they introduced some new features as well. Instead of the walls being built out of boards, wooden planks, they built the walls out of stone. We'll have a chance to discuss why they actually did that. So in the Mishkan in Shiloh, it's a new home and somewhat of a new look, although a lot of the old look is still kept. We'll have a chance to explore why that is when we return to class together. Finally today, let's take a look at one last thing that stands out in these Perakim. Now, some of the land had already been conquered, as you can see on the map in front of you. The green areas were already under control of the Jewish people. To the eastern part of the Yarden, which is that squiggly red line, Reuven, Gad, and half of Menasha had already conquered that land. They weren't settling there yet, but they had conquered it. And the tribe of Yehuda had conquered its land, and Ephraim and Menasha had conquered its land. But there were 7 tribes that you can see here to the left of your screen: Shimon, Dan, Binyamin, Yisachar, Zevulun, Naphtali, and Asher, who had not yet gone ahead and tried to conquer their assigned lands. Now, these 7 tribes were worried that if each one went its own way to conquer different parts of the land, then none of the tribes would be strong enough on their own to fight, because they were the weaker ones. So if they all stuck together and didn't attempt to conquer the land, they'd be fine. They'd all be able to protect one another. But once different tribes started spreading out and going in different directions, as you can see, Shimon, Dan, and Binyamin are located more towards the south, whereas the tribes of Yisachar, Zvulun, Naphtali, and Asher are located more towards the north. They're worried that if they spread out, they would weaken themselves and not be able to defend each other. But Yehoshua had a plan. He told these tribes to appoint 3 men per tribe, so a total of 21 people. And he told them to go out and to survey the land, to draw up a map of its borders. And while this was going on, the stronger tribes of Yehuda and Ephraim and Menasha, Yehuda in the south, Ephraim and Menasha towards the north, would act as border patrol, basically, and provide support for the people to make sure that they were safe from their enemies. Now, once the borders of these 7 territories were all mapped out, Yehoshua would use the goral to assign each tribe to a specific area in the land. But while this was all happening, these tribes could go about creating a map and creating a survey, having the comfort and the confidence that they would be safe. Now, this teaches us an important lesson about looking out for the greater good. Yehoshua knew that if he simply told these tribes, the 7 tribes, to go out and map out the land, that they would be very concerned about their safety. So he relied on the tribes of Yehuda and Ephraim and Menasha, the stronger tribes, who had already secured their land, to look out for the others. And this is a very important lesson, because even though the work was done for Ephraim and Menasha and for Yehuda, they couldn't rest and settle their land until the rest of the tribes had done the same for theirs. They had to look out for the needs of the rest of the nation, even though their needs were already taken care of. So that pretty much wraps up what we've got here going on in this parak. We have a few questions we have to talk about when we get back to class, including what other lessons can we learn from the Daughters of Salaf Cod? They certainly teach us one big lesson about asking for things the right way, but I wonder if there's other things that we can learn from them as well. Next, we have to look at why they actually designed the Mishkan in Shiloh with some of its old features and didn't just totally redesign the entire complex. Finally, did Yehoshua's solution for the 7 tribes work, or did it not go according to plan? These are some of the things we'll have a chance to discuss together when we would get back to class and learn together. Looking forward to continuing the conversation and deepening the learning with you when we return.